So yeah, while we're still talking about that topic, so Africa is rising. You hear this term all over the place, and some people, including myself, we don't know, what it really means. Africa is rising. Africa is the future. And here is something I read from the Economist that Africa's population is projected to double by 2050, and Nigeria alone is expected to have a population of 400 million from 200 million, right? So that presents a lot of challenges and a lot of opportunities for Africa. Can you talk about what it means to you, Africa's rising, what it means, and also talk about these opportunities and challenges that this population growth is going to present?
Okay, so again, like as usual, my answer is going to be a very weird one. First and foremost, even I don't know what this Africa rising is. Okay.
Okay.
Do they mean Africa is rising in terms of numbers and babies and whatever else?
Yeah.
Or is Africa rising in terms of poverty? Is Africa rising in terms of opportunity? Or what is it? Because this is my answer to Africa rising. Africa rose a long time ago. Africa is where mankind started. It was the cradle of mankind. Okay. In fact, it started, the first man was out of Africa. And the first man used to crawl, and then he bent up, and then he walked. So when the first man was able to walk in Africa, that's when Africa rose. We rose from our knees, and we rose to being standing up. So for me, Africa rising took place then. It's not taking place now. The difference is that Africa is the last continent to make a difference. Okay? Everybody's been there, done that. You look at Asia, they've been there, they've created the Asian tigers, done what they needed to do. You look at America, they're supposed to be the land of opportunity, and whatever else, and look at what they're going through right now. You look at Europe, they were supposed to be the food basket. That's where, wheat was grown, just like America. And then now everybody's is divorcing each other, and they're, exiting from one another. So if there's any place that anything still remains and has been blessed, with land, with water, with sea, with human resource, is Africa. Okay. Now, if we go back to history again, we talk about people, being taken as slaves. And I'm like, no, it wasn't slaves. You enslaved them. Okay. Why do I say that? Because from time immemorial, the story about hunters and gatherers. Okay. Hunters were the men, and they went and they hunted, and then the gatherers were the women. So basically what it's trying to say is that women are the ones who created the foods that we eat today. They're the ones who knew that this is poisonous, this is not poisonous. So they created civilization. They created, the food economy. When people were being taken away, you had midwives who were giving birth to children. Okay, so when they were being enslaved, it's just that maybe the word midwife didn't exist in the English word or whatever it was at that time, but you were taking somebody who was a nurse. When people were using stones to teach their children, about whether it was math or how to count, their cattle or whatever, you were taking a mathematician, you were taking a teacher. So it's just that they didn't have those names, and then they went and built what is the first world. Okay, so Africa for me rose at that time. Now, if we come into terms of opportunity, the opportunity is there. But then the opportunity can only make sense when we stop sending out our raw materials. It can only stop when we start adding value and creating job creation. Because if you're talking about 450 million people in just one country, no, it's even more than that, because already Nigeria is, going to do 1 billion like India. Where are they going to get the food? Where is that food coming from? Are we self-sufficient in terms of our food? Do we grow enough for ourselves? So before we start even thinking about, export, and that's why I look at China and I respect them, for that, because they have done, they only have, I think it's, I can't remember how much land they have left. Was it 3,000 hectares or something? I can't remember. And that's the reason even the way they build their homes, they build it in this manner because they don't have space. And whatever they do is to take care of their people first. Okay. And that's the reason they're going out to different countries and saying, hey, listen, we want you to come and give us your resource, give us food, give us sesame, give us whatever. It's to feed their people first. Okay. You look at Egypt right now, because of the issue that's going on between Egypt and Ethiopia about the dam and the River Nile, the water levels are going down. Now, Egyptians are the biggest consumers of rice. Well, what has Egypt done? Egypt has sent out its people and said, listen, go out on the continent, go and grow rice wherever you want, export it back to Egypt. They thought about it, you know? So if they can do it, why can't we do that? I mean, you talk about cassava, you talk about yam, you know, you talk about our plantain. These are things that we as Africans have grown on. Do we have sufficient to be able to say that we can take care of our people first, so that food sufficiency comes in first, and then through that we create jobs? You know, so we need to ask the right questions. So it's not about is Africa rising? Is Africa ready to be able to take care of its own? I think that's where the conversation has to lead to. It's about localization.